How's it going, guys? It's the Butcher here. Wanted to make a video today discussing kind of what I'm going to call Diablo 4 2.0. This is after the campfire chat and all the changes they announced last Wednesday, I believe. I'm sorry, it's now Monday the 25th. I was sick, so I kind of made a video recapping the campfire chat, but didn't really get to dive much further than that. So I wanted to give my kind of thoughts, and now I've had some time to kind of think about it, see other people's reactions, kind of see the general community sentiment about what everyone's thinking, and kind of come to a conclusion on where I stand. So first and foremost, I think I want to say like straight up that I think the changes are good, and I am excited for the future of this game. Now, I'm going to get into some things that concern me, but I think everything they announced are good changes. Like the itemization reworks, what they're doing with the boss ladder and the pit, all seems really good. I think this is finally like the first big step in the right direction we've had in forever. Really, I guess since season 2 somewhat, but even that was kind of just layered on top of what they already had. But to go into it, I want to first talk about the itemization changes. So that's what's kind of playing on your screen. I have the campfire chat up, going through, and they're kind of going through the itemization. This is the itemization portion of it, so they're kind of going through the changes here. But it's just kind of there as background. It's more what I want to talk about. So the first thing is getting rid of a lot of the meaningless affixes. I think that's good. I think that should help our itemization, help not have to sort through so much crap on the ground. So spend so much time doing that. What I don't agree with, though, is them saying that there's no need for a loot filter because they are doing this. So this is the first thing I want to mention. So, in my opinion, as you're going through the game, right? So let's say I have pretty much perfect gear, and the only way I can upgrade that gear is through the, what do they call it again? The greater affixes, which are the ones that they roll at 1.5 times the max, and they always roll at the max, which I think are really cool and really good changes because it gives you another kind of chase item, which is nice. But if that's the only thing that can upgrade my item, let's say, then I would like to be able to filter for that. Or if I only need an amulet, let's say, I would like to be able to filter for that. Or if, let's say, the druid build I'm running only uses one-handed axes and a totem, and it doesn't care about one-handed maces, doesn't care about all the two-handed ones, I would like to be able to filter for that, in my opinion. So I think them saying that is not true. I don't think that's the actual reason. I think they just didn't have time to add a loot filter. I think a loot filter will still be like sorely needed, in my opinion. I think it's something people would really like and would be a big quality of life change. Because like I said, so it won't matter so much early on because you're kind of picking everything up. You're kind of trying to upgrade everything. But once you have like a true endgame character, you're pushing the higher levels of the pit. Okay? The only way you can, let's say, upgrade certain... Sorry, my oven's beeping. The only way you can upgrade certain parts of your build is through, let's say, finding an item with 2 out of 3 greater affixes, or you need an amulet with these specific things, or something like that. Why can't I filter for that? So that seems like a cop-out, in my opinion. So that's one thing that I don't like. But the overall itemization changes are very good. I like the crafting changes on top of them. So I like that. One, now we only have to basically look for 2 out of 3 instead of 3 out of 4, which is nice, and there's less junk. So it should be easier to actually find useful items. And then they cap the reroll cost, which is also very nice for something like amulets where so much can roll on there. I mean, I've rolled an amulet. Spent like $1 billion rolling, or $1 billion, not dollars, Jesus. $1 billion gold rolling an amulet before to try to get a double armor roll for druid. But, I mean, I think that is very good. I like the tempering system for the most part. The only problem I see with the tempering system, and I just don't understand this quite frankly, is why there's not like different tiers of it where I can choose what I want. So I can actually, I should have taken a screenshot to pull this up, but the tempering system, that's not it, tempering system. So if we go right here and I actually just pause this for a second. So I'm sure you've seen the way it works. Probably, I mean, I made a video on it where you watch Campfire Chat. So what can basically happen is when you temper something and you use one of these manuals for ancestral items, you can temper it twice. So you can, add two separate types of things depending on what category or weapon it is. But let's say I want movement speed, right? Just straight movement speed. That's the only one of these four that I care about, right? When I temper it, it gives me a random one, okay? So it could give me a vague cooldown reduction. I could not give two shits about a vague cooldown reduction. I only want movement speed. Too bad, you gotta do it again. Okay, and you can only do it up to 5 times, and that's for both. That includes both of them, at least in my understanding. So obviously we still have the PTR coming up, and we'll have to see how this is in practice. But I don't like this. So what I would like is similar to the way Path of Exile does their crafting system, where I can pay a lesser amount and get a random one, and maybe I get lucky and I get a good movement speed roll. That would be cool. Or I can pay more and just choose to only roll movement speed on there, and then what I get as a roll, and that's where the RNG comes into play, because I know there has to be some RNG, but I don't like, since these are so different. Same thing with this. Let's say I'm only using Bone Spear, right? I don't care about Bone Spirit. I don't care about Bone Storm. I don't care about Bone Splinters. I know you would probably use like Bone Storm a lot of times in a Bone Spear build, but let's just say I only care about Bone Spear, right? I don't want one of my 5 chances for a good roll on this to be something that is utterly useless to me. So that, and I know, like it says here, not final. So this is, we'll have to see in the PTR, but this is a big concern of mine. But overall, I think the tempering system is a positive change. Gives you more options. Takes your, like they said, takes your items on more of a journey, and just kind of adds depth to the experience, which I think is a lot of what they're going for. But that is definitely a big concern with me. So then after the tempering system, which I think is good, you can temper twice, then you can masterwork items, which I think is really cool. Again, my only concern with that is similar. So if we go to the masterworking system right here, so as they explained to us, every 4 tiers, you're going to actually get like one like mega roll basically. I think the other ones they said like are 5% increase, and then this one's like I forget the exact number, but it's much higher every 4. One of the affixes, it can't be the tempered one, but one of your original affixes is going to roll with like I said, like a mega roll, like a juiced up one. You cannot choose this. Again, I would like to see the crafting system work in a way where, and this isn't as big of a deal because you can redo it over and over again. We'll have to see if that's like a huge like pain in the ass basically to constantly go back and redo it. But I would like to see a way where, you can get resource rich basically, and then I can choose to craft my item exactly the way I want. But let's say it's earlier on in the game, or I can't do the harder content yet to get really resource rich and really afford this. And like I said, again, this is not like changing your role per se. It's just juicing it up. I would like to be able to choose though which one I wanted to juice up. That's just me. Maybe again when we see it in practice, and again it's not final, maybe this will work better. This one I don't have as much of an issue with than as the tempering system, especially because you can masterwork what it seems like unlimited times. So again, if that was a deal with tempering, instead of only having 5 times and I just bricked my item, I don't think I would have as big of a deal with it being as random. But since I can only do it 5 times, I would really like there to be a way where I could go in and do exactly what I wanted. And it might be a random roll in that affix I wanted, but at least I got the affix I wanted, because some of them could be completely even irrelevant to my build, even though they're on the same manual, is what they call that little sheet with the affixes that can roll. But overall, masterworking looks great. It looks like a way to really like go all in on just creating like this power fantasy and getting exactly what you want and juicing up the exact right things, and that's all really cool and fun to me. So I'm excited for the itemization changes. I think this is finally the first step we've had in that department in making any of that better. I know you guys were probably tired of seeing like the same stupid crap on there that no one cared about. So we should actually now like get good stuff. So it's like crit, vulnerable, crit strike damage, life, as you see here. Just really important stuff, and I like how they added a lot of this new stuff down here with these tempering affixes, which are more specific. So that's cool. I think that's a huge step in the right direction, and I'm really excited for that. So I guess the other part of this video, or the other part that I want to talk about in this video, is really, I guess, the new endgame system and what we should be expecting from that. So, and I think this, the pit is what they're calling it. I think it's a great change, and I think they get into it over here. Yeah, so the boss ladder and the pit. So basically, there's like 200 tiers of this, and basically what you do is you go in, and it's almost like the Abattoir of Zero. It'll start with monster level 100, and it'll go all the way up to, I believe, monster level 200. At least the bosses will, is what they said. So like an uber version of bosses, and those bosses will have increased drop rates for Ubers and things like that, and resplendent sparks you can get. So cool changes on that front. The pit is good, and if it was there from the beginning, it would be great, but they made this whole nightmare dungeon system. And from what I see, the only reason to run a nightmare dungeon now is to level up your glyphs. Because any monster level 95 plus is going to be guaranteed to drop a 925 gear. Okay, so that means even when you're doing things like Hell Tides, anything like that, and the lowest level of the pit is tier 100 monsters, that is guaranteed 925 gear. Whereas Nightmare Dungeons, you can obviously level up your glyphs in there, but you have to do tier 90 plus to even get 925 gear. So why wouldn't you do that when you can just get it from all these other sources? I do like that everything drops 925 gear, but I wish there was an incentive to do harder Nightmare Dungeons, because I don't think they're inherently bad. I think they can work in conjunction with the pit, where I see the pit as a way to progress and kind of get deeper into it and more of this endgame ladder, as they're saying, and a way to gain the crafting materials. I can see Nightmare Dungeons if they had, let's say you can almost roll your affixes on there. So I could see it as a way to target farm certain things. So if you could roll like greater chance to drop wands or greater chance to drop items with crit strike chance on it or something like that, I could see them using Nightmare Dungeons and specifically increasing the rewards the higher tiers you go as a way to target farm. Instead, it kind of seems like they're throwing out that entire system and we're moving to this pit system, which I actually enjoy, but throwing out the whole Nightmare Dungeon system is kind of a shame in my opinion, because I don't think it's inherently that bad, and I think it could definitely be incorporated into all this. And that's going to bring me to another point where we didn't really get much mention. I know this is kind of like the Abattoir of Zero when he actually jumps in this, but we didn't get much mention of bringing back old seasonal things. And this has been a big thing for me forever. If they're going to do this, I've made videos on it going back months, I think, into season 1. If they're going to go by the seasonal model, which, you know, they've stuck by it, it can definitely work. But in my opinion, I think they need to constantly build upon the game, though, with these seasonal mechanics and new things they're adding. Instead, what they are doing, and not this time per se, but without adding these back into like some of these things that I know they're adding them back as like affixes or like the rings from season 1, but the actual mechanics like the blood harvest or the blood seekers and things like that, without adding them back, they're not adding to the game, which I think people want to see every season, the game grow and expand, where instead it's kind of like the same game starting fresh all over again. And I don't personally like that. So again, the PoE example, I've only started playing recently. I know they have a new season coming out that I'm actually looking forward to, but they seem to take a lot of their previous seasons and just incorporate them and even make them full fleshed out mechanics in the game. And that adds to the game, and that's what's made it so rich and full and diverse, I guess you could say, with content to do. So that's something Diablo, I think, really needs to take a hard look at, and they didn't mention this at all, but it's something I would love to see them do, especially the things that were enjoyed by people. Don't just add back, you know, affix or not affixes, aspects. And speaking of aspects, the Codex of Power is just obviously a no-brainer, great change in my opinion. But don't just add them back there. Add like real genuine content for us to do that was in previous seasons, like the vaults and, you know, the Blood Harvest and the Blood Seekers and Malignant Tunnels and things like that. Bring back stuff people enjoy. You know, you got to make the seasons good, and then hopefully we can get some even fully fleshed out like endgame systems from some of these, which would be really cool. For example, like the Abattoir of Zir, like they get fully fleshed that out. I know this is kind of like it, but if they could fully flesh out maybe a different Abattoir of Zir system, could be cool. But that's basically it for what I wanted to talk about for the most part. Just kind of wanted to go through my thoughts. Like I said, I think the pit's a good change. I think the itemization's a good change. I think these should be fun. However, I do have you know, some concerns, and I know it's coming out much later. Like it's basically by the time this comes out, the game will be almost a year old. I think it'll be about 11 months if I'm not mistaken, but almost a year old. So it's taken a while, but this is finally what I would call Diablo 4 2.0, and I'm definitely excited to play it. I will definitely be jumping into the PTR. Again, I apologize for the lack of content, but I'll be jumping into the PTR, blasting that, and then you know, seeing what feedback we can make from that. Hopefully, make the best game possible. But all in all, I think it is very promising. I think it's finally like the light at the end of the tunnel for the first time in I don't know how long for Diablo, and that's really encouraging to see. And I just really hope it pans out because all the eggs are in this basket. Let's just call it what it is. You know, there's no more really room for error here. This has to be basically a home run. Honestly, it has to be a home run. So it's been the Butcher, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed. Peace.